Well, good morning, Blue Troopers. Hope everybody's doing well. I would have gotten some content out this morning. We had a minor crisis, which I was able to get on top of, but it looks like the outcome of it was I might have a little more time off than expected. Won't bore you with the details, real world stuff, but it's great to have extra days at home. That means more time for modeling. So I had to run some errands with the wife while she was out doing her thing. I swung by Michael's real quick just because it was next door. And of course, their kit collection, which is not particularly impressive, was a bloody shambles. I couldn't resist. Max has been at Michael's when someone's tidied up the kit model shelf. And we got back, got a little bit of mail, and I got from Tiger Tank 2 this great little cartoon and just a piece of, well, I guess I'd call it fan mail. I hate to use the word fans, more like, just a thank you from a viewer. But Chris, thank you very much. If you don't mind, well, you probably, if I did what I think I'm going to do in a few minutes after I record this, then you saw me make a little animation with it at the beginning. If not, I'll try to get to that later. And I actually am going to send you an email because I have a request for you that I think you'll get a giggle out of. Clearly, you are a very accomplished artist. And we have so many great artists that are watching this channel and send me stuff. We have the stuff from Noel Domingo that I'm still using today. He gave us Gluey the Glue Trooper. And it's just, you guys are really amazing. I never get tired of seeing your creations. I'm still getting kit bashes from a couple of folks. And they're going to be in the next Viewers Build. And some folks prefer to kit bash. And I'm like, go for it, brother. It's all about the artistic expression. Speaking of which, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we talked about the live stream. Mike Mashat sent me some stuff from his late great friend Craig Kodera. And it got me to thinking about something he had said during the live stream about how he and Craig would collaborate. And I was wondering, I've done collaborations on models. My wife has done several of the face paints on larger scale models for me because she's so much better than I am. I've made weapons and things for her dolls and stuff, which are exactly the skills we use, essentially a form of kit bashing. And Mike sent me some great examples of his collaboration with Craig. The first one from the Air Force Art Program, the 40th anniversary of the 15th Air Force at March Air Force Base, California. Craig painted the background and Mike painted the B-24 and the KC-10. And you can see how beautiful the artwork is. There's a little bit of a detail painting showing the slats out in the vortices and wingtips and engine strake. Another was this one of Lieutenant Bob Elder landing a P-51 on board the USS Shangri-La. And yes, that was a real thing. It happened. I know a lot of fighter jocks can't believe that. And in fact, Bob Elder was the technical consultant. And many of the changes were made before arriving at this image. Mike designed it and Craig painted the finish. Same process, Mike's drawing, Craig's painting for Jack Northrop's Flying Wing, the Avion. Shown over the original Northrop factory at Burbank back in 1929. And yes, they were doing that back in 1929. Isn't that amazing? At one point, Mike needed a good cover illustration of a flight test, the F-108 for Air Power magazine. Craig came through on a super tight deadline, and it was their best-selling issue ever. And I can see why. I would have bought that magazine in a heartbeat. Still would. And here's an example of Craig's work. It's a private commission for a retiring United States Coast Guard helicopter pilot. And then there's Mike's actual artwork for Craig's KC-10 pilot announcement. And of course, Craig flying the American Airlines Super 8. He stayed in the right seat, became their number one first officer, which is something I completely understand because, as they say at that level, Craig didn't bid his trips. He picked them. I myself have moved up to number 6 in base down in Orlando as a first officer on the Airbus A320-321 because of the retirement of one of our lady first officers. And so I completely understand the logic behind that. It really does give you your life back. You lose a little bit of money. Well, sometimes you lose a little bit of money because you don't make as much, but sometimes you can make that back up with efficient scheduling. But I'm at that point where I'm not chasing the dollars anymore. I'm pretty sure with Craig it was probably about quality of life. And so a huge salute to Craig, who's done some fantastic artwork and definitely taken from us way too soon. And I want to give a huge shout out to Mike Mashat, not only for helping us out with the last live stream and giving me these pictures to use, but also just for everything he's done for aviation art and models and promoting the hobby and everything else. And if you guys are unaware, he has a magnificent YouTube channel, Celebrating Aviation with Mike Machat. I will put a link below. And speaking of aviation and models, I got this from a glue trooper today, and he's actually sent me a couple of more pictures, but it's boiling down to an issue with clamps. Now, this is a recent repop of the B-17 that he's been doing, and he put some big clamps on it. They wound up destroying the plastic. Now, I've definitely had that happen with old plastic that's gone bad, but this is newer and shouldn't have been having this problem. So he asked what I use for clamps. I tend to use these little dollar store plastic clamps. They work really well. I buy them by the bucket load. Speaking of which, I needed to go get another bucket load of them because somehow they managed to go walkabout. I also love these long curve tip clamps. They come in real handy. I've only got one or two of these, and I need about, just put a 0 on that. I could use a good 20 of them. You just never have enough clamps. I'm sure all of us have used rubber bands or tape at some point, but we all know they stretch. They're not the best thing for holding pressure. All of us as kids, I can remember doing my Monogram 148 scale 0 with its total of 3 internal parts. But I rubber banded the heck out of the fuselage to get that tight seal and everything. And when I came back the next day, fortunately, rubber bands add a pretty uniform pressure, so it worked really well. Tape tends to stretch a little too much. Sometimes it's hard to get rubber bands in place. Clamps, I mean, there's no one way to do it. And sometimes you have to be a little innovative, especially with parts at weird angles or with clear parts. That can be a real trick, clamping in clear parts. Ugh. So he asked if you guys would comment below what you do. So how do you go about clamping things? Man, this just might be a video at some point if I don't forget, which I'm prone to do. But also spoke to my commercial animator, i.e. my nephew. He's still working on the new Max's Models animation, but he says it's starting to look real good. He got caught up in the middle of having to move and a bunch of other stuff. Took him away from the work for a while. So I'm looking forward to getting that. Well, guys, that's pretty much what we got for today. I hope everybody's doing well. We'll talk at you later. And as always, model on. You have a phone call. Scam likely. No, thank you. Woohoo! You can tell I've had my coffee.